Hey, LinkedIn. I was talking to some of my people here yesterday, and I was saying, we were talking about what it takes and how hard it is in sales in many cases. And this is, we live and breathe B2B, and a lot of what we deal with, Content One deals with the mid-market companies, and Richter deals with very large companies. And sales, marketing and sales is always a challenge. And, I talk a lot about aesthetics and communication to move people, using aesthetics and communication to move people, and you always have to understand your audience. You understand, what's relevant to them, what problem they're trying to solve, and how do you move them from point A to point B. And, easier said than done, but there are ways to do better with it, to be methodical about it, and use aesthetics and use communication. So great copywriting, great visuals, great pieces that are going to help make the sales team's life easier. And at the end of the day, every company in the world has a product or service that sells something. And so at the end of the day, that's a big part of the mission. You sell something, then you deliver it or service it or whatever. And I was saying, as an example, I said, just pull up as an example, an Apple product, like the Apple Ultra Watch, the new Ultra Watch, the Apple Watch Ultra. And we did. And then it was this beautiful, of course, landing page, pitch page type thing, as we call it. And they have a gorgeous video that plays instantly, and and we scroll down a little bit, and I tell you, whether you want to buy one of those or not, you're sold like 8 seconds into the site, and you just kind of scroll down and you're sitting there going, how can you take that kind of concept of blending aesthetics, using communication, and really playing to someone's senses, playing to the person's senses, and use that even to sell B2B, even if you have an enterprise sale, whether it's a software or a product or whatever. I grew up in plastics. My dad was a plastics guy, and when you talked about plastics, his eyes would light up and he would just get excited. That's true for every person in many cases, for the space that they're in, the space that they're playing in. And when you think about that, you think, what's relevant to your audience? How can you use aesthetics and communication? How can you map that sort of marketing to sales journey and create compelling content and compelling pieces that are going to make them go, hey, I want to have a call, let's do this, and it's all those component parts working together to move them through that sales journey. And it can be very linear, absolutely can be linear, and you kind of go through different stages, but you need to have, you really need to take the time for the design and the aesthetics and the communication, everything all blend together to make sure that they're not getting stuck in areas, or it's not clunky, or it's not confusing. You can't create confusion. Don't distract. You can't distract the buyer. You got to keep them focused, and you got to sort of gently move it through. And when you look at your sales process, if you're map the marketing, entering into sales and going through it, there are steps through that journey. And at each touch point, each visual point of that journey, each communication point of that journey, you need to have the right asset, the right material, the right stage. And obviously you're trying to make the life of whoever's in marketing, whoever's in sales, make it a lot easier. And in many cases, companies don't. They actually make it confusing, clunky, ugly. The communication is broken, or doesn't, it's like, it's so jargony. It's like, what are you even saying? Speaking in acronyms. Tighten it up, clean up the communication, clean up how you do it, and you're going to get a better result, and people are going to arrive where you want them to arrive. And I think sometimes companies and people are making their life harder than it needs to be, because they haven't put in the hard work back here to plan it and design it a certain way that will actually make it easier over here, right? So something to think about. I'll share the link in this post here, but just take a look at it, and then if you're in B2B, think about how that might be, for your product, for your service, for your audience.